So just want to say hi to everybody, and thank you for joining us. I'm quite excited about doing this Trade Decorator Forum live. And I just want to say hi to Jamie. Thanks for joining us, Jamie.
No worries.
And the purpose of this, we're going to be bringing more live sessions like this. If you've got ideas of things that you'd like to see in the group, then maybe drop those in the chat, or if you want to drop me a message, then I'm always happy to hear from you. So I just want to introduce Jamie Bourne from Abode Academy. He's here with us tonight, and he's trained hundreds of decorators in spraying, and he's going to be sharing his knowledge with us, passing on some tips and tricks, and maybe bust a few myths along the way in tonight's chat. So just to sort of quickly outline the way the session's going to run, I'm going to be chatting to Jamie, just informal, general chat about spraying, and things that we both think you might be interested in. If you have a specific question you want to ask, feel free to jot it in the comments. If we spark a question when we're talking, pop your question in the comments, and we'll take a break part way through and take some questions. And then at the end of the session, we will do a proper Q&A. So maybe 10, 15 minutes. If there's things you want to ask, we'll pick up on any questions we've missed. And Jamie has got some exciting news to share with you all, because they are launching something new over at Abode Academy. And we're going to be doing a product trial in the forum as well. But I'll tell you more about that at the end of the session. So let's start off then. And Jamie, for those who don't know you yet, can you tell us about Abode Academy and how you got into spraying?
Yeah, so Abode Academy is obviously a training facility for people that want to get into spraying. We have quite a few different courses really. Got sort of resin. We do granite worktops and floors. We do liquid metal finishes. We use kitchen spraying courses, furniture spraying courses, Airless, which is walls and ceilings, UPVC. We've got a few more in the pipeline. Yeah, so how I got into spraying, it's by accident really. On the job for a guy painting some windows by hand, really impressed with the finish. Then asked me if I could spray, completely blagged it, said I could, and then just learned learned the hard way, made a lot of mistakes. And then I spoke to a lot of the right people along the way, I suppose, as well. Got a lot of help. And then, it just sort of grew and grew. And I just kept going down every rabbit hole and looking at different ways to spray. And the start was the nightmare, not going to lie. But it sort of, obviously become a lot easier as I went on. But the start is the hardest, as they say.
So that's it with anything, isn't it? It's taking that leap. So what inspired you to start training decorators in spraying techniques?
It wasn't even an idea, really. It was someone else's.
Oh.
So we had a guy, James Goff. He works for me now. He's been working for me the last 2 years. We were on a job probably about, 8, 9 years ago. And he said, you've got to teach me how to do that. So I was spraying, they were brushing and rolling. It was a big, big, big manor. We were doing this, worth millions, this place. And I said, I know a couple of guys, or someone else who could train you. But I thought, do you know what? I'll just show you how to do it. I'll set up a couple of rooms and I'll, just charge for the day sort of thing. I trained him and his mate, and then someone else asked, and then it just sort of grew and grew, like organically.
Yeah.
And it was just like a weekend hobby at the start, and then it just become bigger and bigger. And I was obviously quite passionate about the trade and about the spray, and so it sort of just fell into place. And over the last 8 to 9 years, we've had probably nearly 2,000 people through the door.
Wow.
That's I mean, it's crazy.
That's huge, isn't it? When you think about how many people you've trained and how far you've come.
Yeah, so it's just off the wing remark from James. So thank you, James. Probably watching. If he's not, then I'll be in trouble tomorrow. But so it was a good yeah, in the end, it got so busy that I've actually left my job completely, because I've been in the
Yeah.
trade 25 years, and as I started as a decorator, and then 2.5 years ago, I had to make a decision which one I was going to pursue, and it was the trading for me, because obviously it's nice to meet new people, help people, and I just preferred, and I've done the trade for so long. I think it was time to move on to something else. So I carried on with the trading, and then obviously everything else has happened since then as well.
Yeah. Well, why do you think more decorators should consider adding spray into their skill set?
Just because it's another way of doing a job. It's an extra tool. I think what people get the wrong advice for is that everything has to be sprayed. And there's other people out there that say, "Oh, you got to spray everything. You know, once you get a spray, you should spray, spray, spray." That's just not the case at all. And someone said to me the other day, "It's like, oh, well, I couldn't spray the whole job, so I sprayed nothing." Because I said, "Yeah, but that's not the point. It's you might be able to spray the woodwork. You could, my jobs, I sometimes just spray the ceiling." So for me, it was about time and money. So if the customer wants to pay me to spray everything and it's going to take me longer, I would charge them more money. But if it's not, then I'd find a way to make that job quicker by using the sprayer. But then I'd always use the brush and roller somewhere along that job. It was never just spray ever. So it is, it's a tool in your tool bag. It's like you sometimes use an 18-inch roller, sometimes you use a 9-inch roller. So, it's not that you have to use it every job. I wouldn't ever advise anyone to do that. But there'd be something that comes up that you'll regret not spraying, or you'll look back at after you start spraying, and then you'll say, "I wish I was, imagine if I was spraying it then." There's always something you'll look back at and go, "God, if I owned a sprayer then, that would have been, could have made a lot of money on that job, or made my life a lot easier." So it's not about everything, and it swings and roundabouts. And eventually what will happen is you'll get more recognition for the work because the finishes will be better. And don't chase the speed, chase the finish. That's what I've always told people. If you start chasing speed, then it's just not feasible for the job. I would say chase the finish over everything else, and then you just end up in better jobs. You end up in, so all the jobs that people say, my jobs don't really warrant spraying, try and spray a little bit just to get the recognition, and then you'll end up in jobs that you want to do. Do you know what I mean? So it definitely done that for me. So I'd advise people just get started with it. So don't get me wrong, some people are just never going to spray, and that's the way they are. And some people do really nice work without using spray, and they've got big jobs where, these customers want brush and roller finish, and that's fine, and that's their bag. But like, it's nice to add, just never strings to the bone. Have another service you can offer.
Yeah. And what about for decorators that are still working mainly with brushes and rollers? What's the first step in making the transition into spraying, would you say, Jamie?
The first transition in spraying would be probably just getting started, buying yourself. Don't spend loads of money. Transition your way in slowly. Find out if you like it. That's why we offer sort of like a one day course with your sprayer. If you buy a sprayer from us, you get like a 1-day course with it for free. It's like a tester to see if you're going to like it. You're never really going to know if you're going to like it within 1 day, to be honest, and it takes a long time to get into that and learn. But I'd say it's definitely worth looking at 1-day courses and looking at your jobs and making a plan, and that's how I'd transition into it slowly.
Okay, and what would you say is the biggest benefit to decorators? What do they notice first off when they start using a sprayer?
The finish is the first thing I noticed. Definitely. It's just the difference in finish between brush and roller and spray. Don't get me wrong, you get a good brush finish, but it was, for me, it was seeing that finish with the sprayer compared to brush and roller. That's what really took me back. I think that's what the difference you'll make to other people. And yeah, it's definitely a game changer for that, definitely.
And what kind of jobs? Because you said before you can't spray every single job. So what are best suited for a decorator? Let's say just starting out with a sprayer. What would you tell them to start with?
Well, in terms of spray equipment,
No, what kind of job would you say is a good job to start with? What sort of jobs would you take on?
um, well, the thing is, you've got to start with the jobs you've got coming in. So, if it's domestic or it's site work, I mean, if you're doing site work, you should be definitely spraying. Um, but domestic, you've got to try and work your way up. So you can't just magically start getting different jobs. So I would say try and spray as much as you can in the jobs that you're already doing. Um, and don't spray things that don't warrant it, but try
Yeah.
and build your customer base up by um, offering spray. I mean, I didn't even tell my customers I was going to spray. Do you know what I mean? Because the problem is with spraying, you tell a customer you're going to spray paint in their house, they shit themselves. So I used to just do it because I knew I could control the overspray. I knew I had things covered. And then they come in and say, "Oh bloody hell, you sprayed it!" But then they see the finish, and they'd already be over the line, and then they tell
Yeah.
their friend, and then that's how it sort of grows in that way, organically, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You could be very lucky, and you can have work on. Um, Joey, some people just land on the right jobs, and they have those really nice clients. They have all that, but that wasn't the case for us at all. We had to
Yeah.
really work hard to build that reputation and get the jobs that we wanted for spray. Um, but I would, yeah, it puts people off because they always say the same thing, which is my jobs don't warrant spraying. It's yeah, I get it because I've been there, and I sprayed everything at the start, made a lot of mistakes. Um, and lost a lot of money, to be honest, because I was trying to spray absolutely everything, and it didn't warrant it. It was taking me longer.
And
Um,
making the job harder for you
oh
because
god, yeah. I mean, I remember doing a job for an old people's home. It was about 47 doors in a hallway, and it was just the frames. And I taped up every door just to paint a frame, taped all the walls up. And by the time I finished taping it, I could have brushed them 3 times. So it's just, but I was so desperate to get the gun out that I sort of, do you know what I mean? I didn't think about the money. I was thinking about just using the sprayer.
yeah.
Uh, so if I go back and obviously tell myself not to do that, but it was like I think when you get into spraying, some people think that, like myself, is that you're now a sprayer, not a decorator anymore, and nothing. You don't have to use your brush and roller, and sort of retire it all. But that's just
Yeah.
the case at all, and that's not the advice that we would give people.
I guess you've got this shiny new toy and you just want to use
Oh
it
yeah,
as well. There's a bit of that, isn't there?
100%. You won't use it, and yeah,
Well, we'll take a bit of a break here. If people have got questions, what I'm noticing is the questions are disappearing in the chat. So if you did type a question in, if you could maybe type it in again, because I can't get back to the questions that were in earlier. I have got a few comments and a question here from John Mears as well. So Jesse says, "Chase the finish and not the time." He loves that. Loves that saying. And Leon Gleam says it's a lot faster and the finish is amazing.
yeah.
John Mears' question is, what do you do if you get the masking wrong or cause a bit of a mess?
Say that again.
He wants to know, what do you do if you get the masking wrong or cause a bit of a mess?
Um, take your phone off and run. No, I think yeah. I mean, this is the thing. Like I've always told people this from the start is that if you're going to get into spraying, master the taping. Like that's like spraying is the secondary thing you should learn. If you master the taping, you'll be all
Yeah,
right. But if you do make a mess, then obviously it depends where it is. You know, paint's easy to sort out, like run wise. We've got run stuff, but getting paint all over someone's furniture is a different story.
yeah,
So sometimes it's not easy to sort out. Like if you get paint all over someone's sofa, then you're into buying them a new sofa. But if you get paint somewhere you don't want it, then obviously depending on what paint it is and where it is, water or cleaners or big wipes, something help you out along the way there. But it's yeah, you got to put things in place. I think when I first started, I probably rushed the taping to get to the spraying because I was desperate to get to it, and I undermasked what I was supposed to do, and I had those problems definitely.
I
So
guess it's a bit of a learning curve, isn't it? You're going to make mistakes in the beginning, but with practice, then the skill develops, doesn't it?
yeah, definitely. I mean, the more you do it, the more. I mean, the thing is, like I said, like I always said to the guys who go on our courses, it's a 2 day course. Most of our courses are 2 days, and then you'll learn enough of the basics of how to spray, and we're always there to support the guys. But you will learn from making your own mistakes, and you'll find your own way with it. Like the way we train people is the way it works for me. But you'll find your own little ways along your own journey.
Yeah.
You've got to make those mistakes to learn from them. That's the thing. It's you know there's no course in the history of time that's going to teach you to spray in 2 days. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
That's why we support the guys afterwards, and very, very honest and open about that. Those courses will give you the basics of spray, but you're never professional. It took me 2 years to really master it. And I had help. I had people around me that I knew that sprayed, and I had that help. But it's when you're on the job, when you're in the workshop spraying on a course compared to spraying on someone's property, it's two different completely things. So it's definitely a learning curve to go out on site and do it. The same with the PVC. If they're doing PVC in the workshop, there's no wind, there's no rain. Try and tape up a window when it's blowing a gale. It's a lot more difficult. So,
Yeah.
and you just got to learn along the way, make mistakes, but that's what I would advise to do.
Paul Oakes has just said masking's very important. It's basically prepping a room like we should do every day.
Yeah.
And I've got a question from Rick Bendel. He says he's confused about adding hardener. Can you help Rick out a little bit?
Okay, adding hardener to what? The paint?
I'm presuming he's talking about the hardener for the paint. Yeah.
Yeah, so it depends if it's 2K or 1K. So 2K is two components, 1K is one component. So if you're adding hardener to the paints, there generally there's some 1Ks you can turn into 2K. So there's a water-based that you can make into a 2K product. So it can either be a 1K or a 2K. But generally, the 2K solvent-based paints will be like a reactor. So like a hardener and a thinners that go into the paint, and that starts a chemical reaction. So it's like when you use a 2-part filler, you'll put in the pea-sized dot to your golf ball size filler, and that starts the chemical reaction, and then it starts crystallizing, and then that's how it goes hard. So some people use isocyanate, some people use acrylic. There's a lot of different things you can use to make that go off, but generally the 2K products are based on being 2 components.
Okay. So I guess it will vary as well with manufacturers as to what they recommend.
Yeah. So I just got Anna, my missus, here now because she's going to put me back on the screen because I'm just looking at loads of icons. Anything.
We can all see you, but you can't see what we're looking at.
I'm back. I see that's so weird. So I was just talking to her. She just put me back on now because I'm so shit at computer. I was just looking at loads of icons on our screen. It's just talking to myself.
No worries. I've got some more questions for you. James Firth is asking, with kitchens, Jamie, do you recommend somebody new to spraying taking one of your courses?
Yes. I suppose it's sometimes better because it's one of them. It's like we tried people from all different backgrounds, right? And I'm not saying that the way we spray is the best way, but some people pick up badder habits than others. So for someone that's just coming into it, it's easier to sort of mold them into how to spray. And it's like we train car sprayers, for instance, and they're brilliant with a gun, but when it comes to UPVC, they're a lot like this up and down of it because they're used to going over bonnets, and obviously UPVC windows are dead straight. So amazing sprayers, but just not for PVC. So it's like trying to mold them into a new form and new technique. So I'd say that anybody can learn it. I say it's better to have some paint background.
Yeah.
We train people that on the UPVC stuff that just sick of their jobs and they want a career change. It's better that you understand paint and prep definitely first, because it's like you're almost jumping a hurdle to get there. So I think somebody that's a decorator already learning to spray from scratch is easier than actually taking it on yourself straight away. Because like I've said to a guy the other day, like I made 2 years of mistakes that I could tell you about in 2 days. So and that's the thing is, those little tiny chestnuts that you work out along the way massively help you throughout your jobs. Like it did, I wish there was something like this when I started doing it. It would have definitely helped me.
Yeah. I've got a question from Decorating by Catch. He says, what is the difference between HVLP and Airless, and which course would you recommend to start with?
So HVLP stands for high volume, low pressure, and Airless is obviously an airless piston that drives, there's no air, drives paint up into the wet end of the sprayer and then pushes it back down the hose. So the difference between HVLP is based on, so there's two different types of HVLP. There's HVLP, which is air driven by compressor, so it's compressed air, and then there's turbine HVLP, which will be done by 3 to 5 to 6 fans that are blowing hot air towards the gun. So it's just a different way of air delivery to the gun. The gun is still high volume, low pressure, but airless will be, more powerful and using no air. To atomize it, it'd just be using pump pressure. So it's like filling up a bike pump with paint and squirting it out again, and then when it hits the tip, it will atomize. HVLP is only running off air basically, so that air is what is actually atomizing the paint completely. It's just using that air from the turbine or the compressor stored air. So courses I'd recommend, if you want this is a thing. So the granite is very HVLP dependent. UPVC is HVLP dependent. Liquid metal HVLP dependent. You'll have then airless courses, which will be obviously airless for the walls and ceilings. And I'm trying to think of other courses we got there. That would be the one basically, but then they come into each other's worlds slowly as well along the way. So the kitchen course, we use obviously the airless for, but we also use HVLP. So
is one easier to do than the other?
That's a really good question.
Stung me now.
Yeah, so it's do you know what it is? Is if you don't know how to use HVLP, you can hate it very quickly. That's what I always tell people, because like obviously some people are in the shops, like I won't mention names, but like some people are selling a HVLP to a guy in order to spray walls, and then you will hate that very quickly. Because it's not designed for that. It's HVLP is designed for like your fine finish work, like the chair, UPVC, like anything really fine finish. That's what it's designed for.
Like kitchens and things like that.
Yeah, but if you had 30 to 40 kitchen doors, would I use a HVLP? No. Right. I would use the airless because that would be faster, and it depends on what product you're using. If you're using like a water-based product, you're not going to notice difference between finish between HVLP and airless, because the leveling off period at the time it's drying, it's going to dry flat and really smooth. If you're using solvent, because airless puts on a bit orange peely, like if you use solvent based, like the 2K UPVC paints that we do, then you'll see that orange peel in the work because it dries so fast. So to break the material down finer with the HVLP, you're going to get a much nicer finish with that gun because of that flashing off period. It's going to be a lot quicker. So there's times you have to use it because of those reasons. But if you're spraying water-based on a kitchen, I would use airless in the workshop, and then I'd probably take the HVLP to site because it was easier to manage. So that's what I mean. They go hand in hand. As a decorator, an airless and a HVLP would be the only two sprays you'd ever need, really. Yeah. There'd be nothing else. And then when you got into other things and you'd start upping your game with different machines, like air assisted airless, diaphragm pumps, and it go on and on. Heating hoses, or it goes on. Yeah, the list goes on. You can spend a lot of money very quickly.
Um, I've got some questions from Leon Gleam. He says he's an ex-car sprayer.
Yeah.
You mentioned about spraying cars. He said, how much are your courses?
So is this for the UPVC course, or is this for? So well, basically, all our courses are £400 a day. So if it's a
Okay.
2-day course, it's 800 plus VAT. If it's a 1-day course, it's 400 plus VAT.
Okay, brilliant. And Martin Gator is asking, what's the standard for PPE, RPE, and how do you ensure that you protect customers when working in occupied homes?
Very good question. So yeah, I mean, you got to change your liability insurance definitely if you're spraying. Mainly if you're spraying outside. That is, there's only. I mean, I could put if anybody's interested, I can send the link. I don't know off the top of my head. Who knows? I think they're called Bluestone, the company that we use.
Yeah,
There's not many that will cover you, but you definitely want it because if you get paint on someone's cars, I mean, yeah, you're gonna pay the price. PPE wise, you should wear eye protection, respirator, P1 and P2. I would say respirators. You should cover all your skin with spray suits. You should have distraction. You should do a lot of things. I'd be lying if I said I'd done all of them throughout my career. But you should. Like, we advise people that you should, but I also say that I didn't. Like, not going to lie and sit here and say that I had goggles on and full face mask and spray suits. Anybody that's in this trailer know that they forget the day they put the mask on from the sanding. That it's one of them when you're in the middle of a job, but you should definitely take
yeah.
precautions. I mean, I know quite a lot of sprayers that have got glaucoma in their eyes
Oh,
from
God.
spray dust.
Yeah, it's nasty.
It's a really catch-2 situation because if you wear eye protection and you're spraying a ceiling, any overspray from that comes down, then you can't see. So it's like, we try and teach people the way that you're always walking backwards away from it, so the fall is in front of you, not on you. So the mask is the most important thing. Like, I mean, I shouldn't have a beard and spray. That's like but I can't shave off because I'll get divorced. So yeah, it's one of them. But yeah, mask is very important, I would say, and eye protection, I would say, is important. But it's hard to say that to people because I didn't do it myself. So you just got to find a way to make it work that you're not damaging your eyes.
Yeah.
But really, full PPE, yeah, is necessary, and we try and tell people that. But it's not realistic. Is the point?
And what about customers? Are there things you can do to protect customers?
It depends on what products you're using. If they're M1 rated or they are isocyanate curing, or there is the problem is some of the water-based paints now they've got the cross linkers that go into them. There's loads of water-based now that put like a cross linker in that gives it more chemical resistance. But some of these cross linkers are really dangerous, and they're more. I would say they're more dangerous than solvent because there's a flashing off period between the paint drying with solvent, which is very fast, and water based is quite a long time. Like, it could be up to 6 hours, 7 hours of flashing off. So that is a gassing. It's called a gassing off period. So when the paint's drying, so if the chemicals are in there and it's gassing for longer, then it's more unsafe to be around for longer periods of time than it is to use a solvent. So it's a really hard one to get right. So for me, if you're using a water-based product, don't put anything in it. And if you're gonna put something in there, I'd probably just use solvent. That is the point. But the customers generally, when we spray kitchens, because we use solvent in the house. Not all solvents. Sometimes it was water-based, depending on the customer to know the job. But we always advise that they went out when we sprayed and then come back later when it was dry. But we didn't just use salt. We used water-based sometimes. We had to weigh up the situation we were in. If the woman was pregnant and she had 4 kids, then we would use a different method of spray. But you have got to protect the customer, definitely, and yourself. in those situations, definitely.
Okay, we're going to move on to equipment and setup because we've got a few questions here about equipment. Bernard McCallum is asking, what's a good starter kit for someone that's just started up by themselves to buy for wanting to do spindles and cornices and woodwork?
Yeah, that's tricky to answer because there's a spray that I recommend for spindles, and there's a spray that I recommend for COVID and stuff. What he's asking basically. Airless is a good place to start because it'll get you. It would definitely do more than the HVLP in the decorating world. But if you're spraying spindles with Airless, it can get quite messy because obviously you spray paint spindle 1, you get 2, 3, and 4, and also that overspray going through the balustrade, the other side of that staircase is very messy. So I would always use the HVLP, but if you can only afford one right now, I wouldn't spend. I'd spend up to anything up to £1,000. I wouldn't spend so we have a very small Airless called an A5. It's about 1100 plus VAT, and that is what I would start with. But it depends on again what jobs you're doing. If you're doing a massive job straight off the bat, then you want a bigger sprayer. It's just pointless buying a small one.
Well, you're going to pay twice, aren't you? Because it's
don't buy anything under £1,000 because it's just not going to last. And I've learned that the hard way. Like you spend sort of 800 quid, it's crap. It's and it won't last, and you have more problems than it's worth. So you'll spend more time trying to fix the problems, and it just outweighs your cost instantly. Yeah. But definitely like a small sort of 2 liters a minute sort of jobby would be a good place to start.
And I've got a question from Mark Mason. He asks, what cordless setup would you recommend for site work?
Well, in terms of like battery power, is he talking?
I think so, because he said, yeah, cordless.
To be honest, I'm not a massive fan of them because you have to charge. Because if you've got those site power, then you're charging those batteries at your house. So that doesn't make any sense to me. To be honest, if I was going to go to anything like that, I'd either rent a generator and charge the customer for the fuel, or rent a petrol-driven spray machine. I think the problem with electric sprayers, like battery pack ones, is if you're doing site work, those batteries are not going to last long enough to get the job done, and then you're going to have to go and find someone to charge those batteries. If you use fuel-driven, which would be petrol generated, then obviously you can fill up a 25-litre jerry can and that'll last you. So it's for me, that's more feasible. The battery power ones, I see the market for it. It's almost like a gimmick grab. I think I personally don't think they're that great. I think there's some better ways of doing it, but I know people that like them, and that's each to their own sort of thing. But yeah. I would go over petrol for me, or whatever diesel, over battery.
And let's have a chat about, while we're talking about kit, what made you decide to launch your own spray equipment, Jamie?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to answer that without offending somebody, but it was. We were let down a lot by other brands, bigger brands, and when you're stuck in the middle of that, it's very difficult to look after your guys properly. And we're dealing with complaint after complaint, and it was more the servicing side. After doing this job for 25 years, like I think if you don't do that job for that long and understand the situation, if someone's sprayer goes down, they need it back fast. It's not like 8 weeks. We can't wait 8 weeks. Like I've had to send my sprayers in for repair before, and like 6 to 8 weeks turnaround. And I was, I don't know what they think that you were doing for that sort of time.
Well, time's money, isn't it? You can't just sit around for 8 weeks.
If your paint doesn't turn up, you're fucked. It's the way it is, and I think no one understands this, and we do, and it's not very nice to be in the middle of something, you can't. I mean, because if we're selling someone else's equipment and they say that something goes wrong with the sprayer and they send it back and it's generally the sprayer's fault, they're arguing for hours about whether it was his fault or not. And my motto is sort the customer out, worry about the problem afterwards.
Yeah.
So, if it is their fault, I'll have a very strong conversation saying, look, you've not cleaned it out. It's it's buggered because you've not done this. But we'll try and get him a sprayer in the meantime just to get him going and keep him going.
Well, people, if you look after people, they come back, don't they?
Well, I mean, I don't know if this guy's watching on here now. He might be, but we had a guy. I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, but he had a sprayer from us, and it was, to be fair, touch wood, it's the only one that's actually come back so far. I swear that to God. And he come back, and it turned out that he hadn't cleaned the oil out properly before he started. It got really congealed in the pump, and he kept running it with the ball bearing stuck, and it burnt the pump out. And it was only one of the small sprayers, but I was like, I explained what had happened. And he said, "Oh well, I'm going to take you to Trader Standards for that." And I said, "Yeah, but I'll just give you a new machine. It doesn't bother me." He's like, "Oh, okay." It was very like, right, sorry. And then next day he actually apologized and said, "Like, I'm really sorry. Like, I'm gonna
He
come
thought he was
back."
going to have to fight, didn't he?
He thought he was going to have to fight me, and I was like, "Look, mate, I'm not here to fleece you. I'll just give you a new machine. Like, we'll just fix that up, and we'll use it as a loan machine." Like, but I'm not here to sting people. We're here to look after people. I've been in the trade long enough, and we want people to use our machines because it's nice to see them get out there, and it's nice to know that they can be looked after, and that's the main reason. And I think dealing with customer problems from other brands, it's very time consuming for the money we were actually making from it. It was not a lot, and like I said to you earlier, Paul, like, you might make 10%, but then you spend an hour on the phone to a customer, that's all gone. So there's no point. And then we just thought that we'd just follow suit, and we did. We followed suit where they made them. We found out where they made them, and we invested a lot into doing it, and we decided to do it ourselves. And that's the main reasons why we did what we did.
Well, let's move on to training. How long does it usually take someone to feel confident with a sprayer, would you say?
That's $1 million question, because it's, anybody watching this, you've always got one mate that can do absolutely everything. He's really good at basketball, football, golf, skateboarding. They can do it all, right? We all hate him. We do. And I got a mate like that, and he's an asshole, right? But the truth is, I wasn't like that. I had to I'm not like a sponge. I take things in like a sponge, but I have to use my hands a lot to master something. I have to really put it into practice. So there's those two different people, and there's one that's in the middle that sort of floats between the two, but it's generally you're either one or the other. So you get like, we had 4 in today. The guys all shit hot. They were really good. The class went really fast, really smooth. And then you get 2 sometimes that are slower and 2 that are faster. But generally, if you come on the course, I'd say within the first 6 months, you're up to speed, like of getting used to it and getting more confident with the gun and setting it up. But like I said, we're always here to answer the phone and give people that support anyway. But it's hard to say how long it would take because everyone's so different. And it's not a bad thing, because the guys that come in that struggle, I was that guy. So it's definitely a learning curve. I think what the biggest thing is when you get into spraying as a decorator, you think you know everything about paint. So this would be just like an easy transition, and it's absolutely not. It's completely different to what any of you have done, even to the woodwork. You'd spray the skirting first for woodwork rather than start the window. Say there's because of the overspray landing on a wet surface. There's and I learned that over 2 years from making mistakes. And so that is a hard question to answer, but I'd say give yourself 6 months, even to a year, to just master that, that transition over to trying to even put it into the business.
And what would you say are the biggest mistakes that beginners make when learning to spray?
Spraying everything, 100%. Spraying everything in sight, even the cat. You know what I mean? Like
The cat. I
like,
like that.
you just want to. It's such an addiction. Like I think, like when you first get into it, it's like I think as adults, there's not many things that excite us anymore. Like Christmas is like, well, if you want something, you buy it yourself. But when you get into spraying, it's like toys,
Yeah.
like man toys, woman toys. It's like it's a really fun. I used to. You go so far with brushing and rolling, and it's almost like, going to work up, roll that bloody seed in it. When you've got the sprayer, it's I can't. It's almost like it made me love my job again. It really
Yeah.
did, and it was exciting to go in, and it's just spray, 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 spray. I want to spray, spray, and then you spray something that doesn't warrant spraying, and you just start hating it more and more. Going the other way, but yeah, you've got to take rough and smooth with it. But I would definitely say just get it going and don't spray everything. That is definitely the best advice I give anybody. And don't overspend at the start. Don't go out and buy 10 different machines, because it's just not worth it, because you'll grow with it, not in front of it.
Yeah.
But
There's no point having them all sat in the garage if you've not got the job so you can use them on, is there?
Oh no, I mean I've seen a guy the other day that we trained. I told him all this, and he was taping up a whole bathroom, spray tied ceiling. There's no windows in there, so I was like, no one's going to tell if you sprayed that or rolled it. So what's the point?
Yeah.
And the time it took him to tape it up, I was just like, but he's so desperate to get the gun out because he's not going to use it anymore. So I was like, yeah, I get it, because I've been there.
So let's try and bust a few myths and give away some trade secrets.
Yeah.
Spraying is often seen as messy and wasteful. What's the reality, Jamie?
It is messy, and
It is messy.
it can be wasteful. Yeah, I mean, it's you got to weigh up. I think. Do you use more paint? Yes. Is it more messy? It depends how you see messy. More dusty. Yes, definitely. Wet paint fall out on the floor, like when you're brushing and rolling, and then your bit of paint comes to the brush and lands. The only place the dust sheet's not. We've all been there, right? I would say you get more dust than you do wet paint on the floor. So it's more dusty. You will use around 20% more product, but you are filling the product down 20% more. So it evens itself out slightly, but you will always use more paint. But does more paint cost more than your time? That's the point. So that is the question you need to ask yourself. So yes, you might use a bit more product, but your time's worth more money than that paint. So yeah, it is. Yeah, you're gonna create more dust, definitely. You're using more product because you're spraying it, but your time is and the finish is what people are going after. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
And what about, do you really save that much time once you factor in all the masking and cleaning down?
Not at the start, no, definitely not. Like at the start, you'll be breaking even with it. To be honest, the same as you would brush and rolling, depending on the job, obviously. But you will get faster. I mean, as a traditional decorator, I used to be that guy 15 years ago. It was like, if you use tape, you're dog shit. You're not a decorator. You can't cut in. But now I use tape all the time. I use tape even if I'm brushing and rolling. I would be using tape. But you need to coming away from cutting everything in by hand and taping, covering everything a lot better because you have to cover more. There's no doubt about it. Like if you're spraying someone's ceiling, there's a sofa in the middle. You can't just chuck a dust sheet over it. You have to wrap it. You have to pin all the plastic to the floor. You have to stop any dust getting into that. The doorways. There's a lot more prep involved. But the faster you get at that, the quicker that will become. And the guy said the other day, I could have brushed and rolled that by the time you spray that. It's like, yeah, but can you do that 3 times? That's the point. So it's like, if you've got a door that needs 3 coats, and you've taped around it because you're protecting the wall, say, yes, the guy's got a coat on before you've taped it, but then he's got to do it another 2 coats. So it's then it becomes faster. And then you start learning, well, actually, it all makes sense as you go on, but looking at it from the outside, definitely you'd be like, well, why the hell is he doing that? Because he's taping all that up to spray a door. And I wouldn't spray a door. I'd spray 10 doors. I mean, that's the point. You spray when it's worth it. It's not worth spraying one door. It's worth spraying 10 doors. It's not spraying radiator. It's worth spraying 10 radiators. And this is when it, you've got to weigh up, definitely, the time it's going to take you compared to brushing and rolling, unless someone's actually physically paying you to spray it.
Brilliant. It just sort of answered Bernard's question about when's it right to get the sprayer out.
Yeah.
Like I say, it's got to be worth your time.
Yeah.
Couple of other questions because I don't want to lose them in the chat because they'll disappear. Noel Michael Power said, is cleaning the equipment after using oil paint a lot more complicated?
Not really. I think people are scared of that. I definitely was. So you just got to use the right thing. So if you use an oil-based paint, use white spirit. It's going to clean out probably faster, to be honest, than it is with water. Anything solvent-based will clean out quicker. Yes, you've got to try and get rid of that somewhere. So it's more. I'd say it's more of a nuisance to get rid of the stuff that you've cleaned it through with.
Right.
With water, in theory, you could chuck it down the toilet if you really wanted to. But it's harder to just get rid of, and it's also more messy, I'd say, like to yourself. Like if you put your hands in it, water is a lot easier to work with. But it's not harder to clean the spray out. It cleans out actually a lot faster, to be honest. Okay. But what I would say is if you are doing that, you need to dedicate one machine to solvent and one to water-based. If you're going to, I wouldn't be mixing them. By the time you clean the pump through and all of the hose, then you'll never get it fully out because the hose is not see-through. What you see is clear water at the end of the gun. What's actually in the hose is probably a lot of paint still. So, or parts of paint or bits. So if you start constantly mixing between the two, you will get contamination between the products. So I would say, have one pump for one for another.
Okay, and Kevin Gilroy is asking you, would you recommend the 3M PPS cup system for a HVLP setup? He's thinking of getting it for his.
Yeah, we sell absolutely hundreds of them, like hundreds and hundreds, because it depends on what you're doing, but it's definitely a quicker way, especially with solvent, because the line is designed to be chucked away afterwards, so it's minimal cleanup towards the gun. You can spray upside down because the line is pulling in towards the barrel of the gun, which is going onto your wet end. And yeah, I wouldn't spray without one, if I'm honest, because of obviously changing the nozzle around. If you're spraying horizontal or vertical, you can just turn your hand. So you have to buy the right adapter. So the S2 adapter is what we sell, and that's what fits onto our HVLP gun. And I think that also fits the Graco, but you need the longer nose one for the Graco. So just remember, you have to get past the trigger. But I would definitely say that the PPS is a game changer for me because it's minimal cleanup and you can turn the hand because of that liner pulling in. So yes, that question, I definitely think about getting one.
There you go, Kevin. And is spraying, Jamie, would you say spraying is just for big commercial jobs? A lot of people think you can only use the sprayer if you've got a big commercial job, or can it work on small domestic ones?
I never done commercial jobs, and I sprayed thousands of jobs. So yes, you can do anything with it. I think sometimes, it's lovely. We all want that job where it's completely empty and you can just run around and hose can be flying everywhere. But reality of it, not for many. But I'll go after high-end domestic. That's what I was into. Conference rooms for hotels I got into. But there's always something to be sprayed. I mean, even if you can't spray the ceiling, just spray the woodwork. It's horse doesn't land in. I mean, you're a field day on the woodwork in there because for me it was just so much quicker. I rolled everything apart from I rolled the ceiling and the walls in the horse doesn't land in, but I used to do all my woodwork with a Airless because it's just so much faster. Sometimes it's difficult with furniture, but again, like you could just get around the woodwork with an Airless gun and then just roll the ceiling and the walls, or you can make them empty the room, which is what I did most of the time. I'd always tell people, like, it's like anybody watching this is if you want the job done properly, you need to have room to do it. So we used to clear a lot of our rooms out the way, but a small living room or small hall, stairs and landing, it's not really worth it. But there might be something you can spray in there. So it's not for every, like I said, it's not for every job.
It's just going to be worth getting the machine out.
Yeah, it's nice to get the machine out, and I think sometimes it's always somewhere you can use it, but I wouldn't always spray everything. I think that's where if you can't spray everything, it comes into if you can't spray everything, I'll spray nothing, and that's the thing. There's definitely a time and a place, but all my jobs were like domestic right at the start. I mean, I was stuff that I wouldn't spray now I sprayed, and I made it work. But looking back at it, I probably wouldn't have done so. But you have to wait until something comes up, and it won't be all the time. It could be 6 weeks apart, it could be 3 weeks apart. But something could come, and then you'll spray, and then you'll get recognition for that job, and then all of a sudden it just keep growing, and then you'll mainly be spraying then for your career, if you will, and then you'll have those bigger jobs. People don't want you to spray; they pay for you to be sprayed.
Okay, and can you give us one trade secret that can transform results for decorators just starting out?
In spray?
Yeah.
Separate yourself from the rest. Definitely. Like if you look at your competition, that's what we do. Look at your competition, look what they're not doing. Do the complete opposite, use AI now when you can. If you look at a post, I mean, I don't know if I posted it on the Trade Decorator forum, but if I didn't, I'll put it on after this. We use AI to change pictures of rooms, kitchens. So if you're spraying a kitchen, you can tell ChatGPT to change the kitchen to whatever color the customer's thinking. You can send them a few different samples of that kitchen, and it's absolutely incredible. It changed your business, AI. It really will. So I would say get into AI now and look at what your competition is not doing. We had terms and conditions, everything we had in place, PDF files, videos of us doing the job, the processes. Separate yourself from the rest, because most people can't be asked to do it, and if you do it, then you're definitely going to stick out compared to the rest.
Okay, let's cover a few practical tips now. What are your top tips for controlling overspray on domestic jobs?
There isn't really a way, to be honest. I mean, if you use the right paints, the right tips, the right machines, the right pressures, there's a lot of things to answer that question. But I would say definitely a lot of it comes down to the right product and the right tip and the right distance. If you're spraying a ceiling and you're 5 inches too low, the paint's going to struggle to get there, and you're going to lose a lot more of it in fallout. So that would class as, I call it fallout. Some people call it overspray. Overspray to me is spraying something here, and then overspray goes that side of it. I think you're looking at more fallout with dust, but it's difficult. I think you've got to use the right tips and know exactly how that product works as well. Learn that product well. Learn how much you can fit it. I wouldn't just go straight in at 20% water. I would be filling it 5, 10, 15. And because obviously the more water you add to any paint, you're going to get more dust, more fallout, because you're creating more of a vapor with it at that point. So I would always learn that product well. That's why with our paints, we've managed to find a way that you don't have to water them down with the woodwork, so it sprays really nice without water, and that creates less overspray, I would say. But using definitely right equipment, right tips, right paints, right filling, viscosities, not spraying paint that's cold, keeping it warm will help. But you'll never stop it all. Like, that's the thing. It's like a dust of sander. 95% of it will go into the extraction, but there's 5% that won't, and it's not completely 100% dustless. So you've got to manage your expectations of it. Definitely overcover everything and learn the products well before you start spraying.
Okay. And how do you keep your sprayer in top condition to avoid costly repairs?
To be fair, that's a really good question. It's people over clean them massively. That's actually quite a big problem. I've done a video on Facebook about the stage that I would bring it to clean it, and it just got thousands of comments of like, "Oh my god, I can't believe it! If you can't drink it, it's not clean enough. You should be able to make tea with it." It's like that's absolute bullshit. To be honest, the murky water is fine. Like not like so you can still see the color completely, but like see your hand through it in the palm of your hand, that is clean enough. If you actually over clean the machine, the water will cut through the piston quicker than the paint will. So like you're actually overdoing it. Once that trigger is off, the pin is pulled back pulled back forward towards the end of the gun. There's no air getting in that machine. As long as you don't take your hoses off and stuff, leave everything on. No air is getting in that machine. So for me, filters clean every day. Oil into the pump, into the piston every day. But over cleaning is a big problem we see in the servicing. You see all the wear and tear on the piston, and you know it's water's done it because it's running through a much faster rate. But definitely filters keeping clean. All the threads on the gun look after because you won't be able to screw anything back down properly. Don't put WD-40 on it like some people do because that go into the spray or into the paintwork, and that'd be months before you get it back out again. If you're using anything on the threads, I would say use your pump lube around the threads to keep everything nice and lubricated. It's not the paint sticking to it, and that's paint friendly. But definitely over cleaning the machine is a big problem, and I think that's what I did at the start because I didn't know how clean to make it. But if you're getting crystal clear water, you've gone too far. I honestly think I know that 100% because I've been and learned the servicing side for years, and everyone I speak to will say the same thing. I think even Greco's website will say murky is fine. So yeah, look after things well. I'm not saying don't clean it out properly, but just don't over clean.
Yeah. I've got a few more questions for you. Robert Worswick is saying, what would be the best all-round machine that can be used on woodwork, ceilings and walls without him having to buy multiple machines?
Well, an Airless would be your best machine,
An Airless.
or a diaphragm pump, which is something we brought out recently. But yeah, you're obviously not one suits all, but if anything, that suits most. So it's the Airless is always a good place to start, especially if doing that sort of work. And then you would invest as you went on throughout that journey. Then you might get a HVLP, but if you're doing ceilings, walls, woodwork, then Airless or a diaphragm would be always the way I went.
Okay, and Noel Michael Power has said, how long would you recommend to learn a good course of spraying, please?
How what a course or endurability of?
He said a course, but I mean, you do 2-day courses, but I guess he's wanting to feel confident. So maybe this relates more to what you were saying before, that it's going to take you about 6 months to be confident.
I think the reason the courses are only 2 days is because people have got to take time off work. And we're not there to try and teach somebody how to suck eggs. Because if you're a decorator already, why am I going to bring you into a course and teach you how to fill walls and caulking and stuff like that? So the reason the courses are 2 days is because it gives people enough time to sort of get the grips with the basics of it, health and safety of it. But in general, like I said, it would be that 6-month period of learning, but we have a lot of support afterwards. Like I said, we've got memberships you can join. You can watch the whole course back that you've done on that day that we've filmed, so you can go back into it as many times as you want. We help people get work as well through a network that we use. So there's a good support group there. But like I said, you've got to give yourself that 6 months, definitely.
You answered my question before I got to it. That's what I was going to say about the support. Bernard McCallum is asking, how would you spray lining paper? It feels like the seams are always visible.
Again, it depends how sound that is. I mean, you could use like a Zenza guard or something like that, or something to there'd be something for wallpaper that Zenza probably invented. but like I said, you got to understand this. Like even if you're brushing a roller, you're adding moisture into it, so it's going to swell. Um, if it's straight lining paper, then and those joints are opening, then I'd probably cut back, stick, fill, then spray those parts.
Yeah.
But again, it's always really difficult because it's depends how soundly it was put on to start with. But it's you are putting paper on the wall and then spraying water onto it in theory.
Yeah.
So it's going to be difficult. I mean, spraying ceilings that have been lined in paper is going to be even more tricky. And it comes down to who did it, the first time. Like anything, with spraying woodwork is to take pulls the paint off who painted it first, that sort of scenario. So yeah, lining paper can be difficult. Obviously, spraying wood chip, you probably have no problems because it's hard enough to get that stuff off as it is to put it on. But yeah, lining paper, I would definitely be wary of it, and obviously get yourself get your T's and C's in place if the customer's already had it done, because it's never going to be easy or a straight run really.
And he's asking, are the courses close to Edinburgh? Do you want to tell everyone where your courses are, Jamie?
Yeah, so we are in Wiltshire near Bristol. So from Edinburgh is a plane to Bristol Airport, and then you get a taxi 40 minutes to our workshop, or we can pick you up. We had multiple academies at one point, couldn't manage them, didn't like the way they got ran by other people, so we decided to just shut them down and concentrate on ours in Wiltshire, because it's just we can run the courses ourselves. I would never have anybody else running it for us apart from me and James. So yeah, we are in Wiltshire. I know some places for people it's a long way to travel, but it's definitely worth the travel. Like I said, we have people from all over the world: Australia, America, Budapest, Poland. Like we've had them. America, we're coming in from everywhere. I know sometimes it's 3 hours in a car, or 4 hours in a car, or 2 hours in a plane. But like I said, you looked after well with us, and if you want to come and do our courses, then you're always welcome.
Fantastic. Now, you've got some exciting news, haven't you? You've got a new paint range coming out. Can you walk us through what makes your paint different from what's out in the marketplace?
We deliver it on time. No, actually, because the couriers are sometimes shite. But no, we brought out our own paint. We got a UPVC, we've got kitchen and furniture and woodwork paint for your general woodwork. We have a polyurethane and also a floor lacquer. So we make this all in our own facility. And I think this was the next step for us, because obviously we're doing the training. We've had let down from other brands with paints. Not all, but some. Bad color matching, which is very hard. Not gonna lie, it's hard. But it was mainly like wrong deliveries or bad customer service, I would put it. So we decided to do it ourselves. So we have some really nice products that we are selling a lot of, to be fair, and everyone does like it. So yeah, if you want to try it, then let us know. But it's a great product. It's really flip-to-tropic. It's got really good hanging properties in it and fast drying times on the water base. So if you're new to spraying, it's very forgiving. The PVC is an acrylic 2K, so it dries very fast. It's not an acrylic water base; it's an acrylic solvent, so it dries really fast. Really beautiful to use, and less deadly than a full isocyanate curing product. Still carries an isocyanate, but it's very, very, very small amounts. So yeah, PVC, kitchens, furniture, general woodwork, and floor. We do a lot of floor lacquers and lacquers in general.
So we're going to be doing a product trial in the forum. Now, these paints have all been designed for spraying. So if you're not spraying yet, this one's not for you, because we're looking for 5 sprayers that want to try out these products. You heard what Jamie said. There's kitchen paint, there's furniture paint, UPVC, and woodwork. I will be putting out a post in the forum promoting the products, telling you more about them, and looking for 5 decorators to try them. We will only be looking for 5 people to spray them. Bernard's asking, can these paints be brushed? These have been designed to be sprayed, haven't they, Jamie?
Yeah, so they can be brushed. You know, and they're nice to use with a brush. So I'd say definitely try it and see what you think. But there is a barrier. Like, it's not like if anyone's ever used Scuff X, it doesn't spray. It does not spray, like, brush and roll as nice as Scuff X. I would never even say that. But it sprays beautiful. But it can be brushed and rolled, and it is nice to use. It depends what you've been using before. But if you put it against something that brushes and rolls really like amazing, then it's not going to be as good. But it's definitely worth trying for brush and roll. Don't buy those. Just try a little sample and see what you think. But it's been made mainly for the spray. Like, that's how we've gone against it. Yes.
So for the product trial, we are looking for sprayers. So if you want to get involved, drop us a message in the chat here and let us know what project you've got coming up, which product you'd like to try. And we'll be taking a look here. And also, as I say, I am going to be putting a post out in the group to organise this as well. And let's see what you all think of the products in the forum. So, yep. I've sort of done the questions as we've gone along, Jamie, because I was missing them we was chatting away and I was talking to you and they were just disappearing in the chat. So I don't think I've missed any questions. If anybody does have any further questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. But I think we've covered everybody's questions that have been in there. If once we've finished the session tonight, feel free to, if you think of anything and you want to know, feel free to add your questions to the chat here. And Jamie, you'll check back, won't you, and answer any other questions?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Fantastic. So if someone is watching tonight and they're on the fence about trying spraying, Jamie, what would you say to them?
Just get going, give it a go, get started. Yeah, you only live once, sort of situation. You know, you're dead longer than you're alive. That's what I always say to my old man. Right, so you just got to go for it. You know, at the end of the day, and don't be put off by the first job you do because you'll absolutely hate it. It does get easier. The start is the hardest, but you just got to get going. You know, if you're thinking about doing it, then you might as well. You know, if it's something you're never going to do and you can't be asked, then fair enough. But if it's in the back of your mind to try it, don't wait too long and then let time go by. Do you know what I mean? It's just, you know, give it a crack. You know, we're here to support. I mean, look, you haven't even got to come on one of our courses. If you've got questions about spray, then we'll answer them happily. You know, we're not here to just sell you courses. We want to help people as much as we can. You know, we'll spend hours on the phone to people that never done our courses and maybe never will. You know what I mean? So it's yeah, just get going, give it a go. You know, you might hate it, you might love it, you know. So yeah, it's just give it some time on the gun, see how you feel. Yeah, pick the right times. But it's definitely there to be, you know, if you're thinking about it, I'd say you're already halfway there. So get the gun and get it going.
And Jamie is live in the forum here. He's one of our experts in the group. So if you want to get in touch with him, you can obviously get in touch with him in the forum here. Jamie, do you want to put in your details of how people can get hold of you other than on the chat in the forum here, in case anybody wants to learn more or book a training session?
What, add it into this chat afterwards?
Yeah, you can put it in the chat afterwards. Just type it in the chat for us.
Yeah.
Fantastic. One last question I've got here. Bernard McCallum's asking, should you definitely do a course or do you think you could learn from YouTube?
It's definitely, I mean, yeah, I'm not going to oversell it, but it's definitely worth doing a course because then YouTube will. For me, you can learn a lot from YouTube. Of course you can, you know, but the problem is a lot of it is American, and the way the Yanks do it is not the same as we do it here. There's a lot of differences over there than there is here. You'd have to search long and hard to find the answers you're looking for. They're not all there on YouTube. You probably could teach yourself over years. Yeah, that is the truth of it. But the courses will save you those years of searching and making mistakes. And it's nice to have somebody to help you along, mentor you along the way. But yeah, it's not, some people are really good and they can teach themselves, and it's not, it's not impossible. I did it a lot of it myself. But it took me a long time, and I made a lot of mistakes along the way. And I wish I had somebody. I tell a story to everybody that I was an apprentice. I had a guy, Eric, that used to be my boss. And I used to peep out the door. Eric, how do I do this? Eric, how do I do that? And then when I was on my own with spraying, there was no Eric, and it was just me. And that's very difficult. So
Yeah.
yes, I advise going on courses, but I'm definitely not going to understand them because I didn't do any, really. So yeah, I would say training will definitely help you along your journey, but it's not that you have to do it though.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks for your honesty, Jamie. Thank you so much for this evening. It's been a fantastic session, and there's so many positive comments in the chat. People saying thank you and what a great live it's been. Thank you everybody for taking your evening to come and join us tonight to do the session. Really valued your input with all the questions. And as I've already said, please do feel free to add any other questions that you've got for Jamie, and we will check back and get back to you. Thanks ever so much. Good night, everybody, and good night, Jamie. Thanks a lot.
Cheers, guys.